Alrighty, we're going to get going in about 3 minutes here. I think the format we're going to try here, we'll see how many people show up. But if you have questions that you want to throw at Brad or I, we'll of course do our best to answer. But what we're going to ask is that you put questions in the text in the chat box, and we'll go with that approach. And depending on how many participants and how much time we have, we're going to try and keep this to an hour. We may try and get some dialogue going too, but for now we're going to start with text questions, chat questions. So if you have them, throw them at us.
And we've got a few seed questions just in case the pump needs priming. And yeah, we'll give it a few more minutes for other folks to hop in. I see John from Wyoming has his video on. John, is that your ham shack there? Thumbs up if so. Yes, awesome. I see Carlene's online. That must mean there's decent internet signal up at Dowdy Lake. Looking like a good crew tonight.
Again, for those of you just joining us, we're going to get started here in just about a minute. If you have questions, go ahead and put them up there in the chat box, and we'll just work through the questions in chronological order. And we're going to address a couple of seed questions first to get started.
And Nick, my wife, always says that she can just sit back and listen to you read the phone book. So I assume that means your voice is the one people want to hear, and I will let you do more of the talking.
Well, indeed. They even make phone books anymore?
2 years ago when I had an office job, they would deliver them at least once a year. So don't know the last time I've seen it at the house, though.
Okay, so I think we'll get going with this session. So thanks everybody for joining us. It looks like we have 25 online, probably more will be joining us as we work through this. Obviously, the reason that we're doing this Zoom Q&A is because we are in unusual times. So a lot of changes to typical race procedures. And also, we really won't have a chance to do our usual pre-race briefing for both crew and runners. So we want to give you the opportunity right now to get your questions answered, and we will do our very best to answer them. So Brad put together a couple of seed questions to get us going. So I'm going to look at those and address them. So one question that we've been getting from a lot of folks is whether or not the race is still a qualifier for the Western States 100 and the Ultra Tour de Mont Blanc, or UTMB as it's more commonly known. And the answer to that question is yes. So finish the race in under 23 hours and you will be qualified for the Western States Lottery, and finish the race in general, and you will get 4 UTMB points.
And a special note on that, so Western States, of course, was canceled this year. They are rolling over their entire entrant list to next year, but they have also extended the qualifier window for 2022 to 2 years. So even though you're running this race in 2020, it can still be a qualifier for the next lottery for the 2022 race.
Okay, Brad, here's one for you. What kind of food will the aid stations have?
Oh boy. So we're going with a bit more limited menu this year, just to keep things simple. We are trying to prioritize the kind of food that can't easily go in drop bags. So yesterday I bought, what is 45 times 36, because that's the number of tortillas I purchased, along with about 60 pounds of cheese. There's going to be quesadillas everywhere. There's going to be hot soup, both chicken noodle and homemade veggie. We're going to have fruit, a little bit of cookies and chips, some PB&J wraps. V-Fuel is our endurance fuel choice. There's going to be drink mix and individual packs of gels all over the course, and a few more bits and pieces. It's not the usual spread that you see on the table where there's 5 different options of everything to tempt your palate, but we will have something at every aid station that's salty, that's sweet, that's hot, that's cold, something that's gluten-free, something that's vegan-friendly. Won't be a lot of choices. If you have particular favorites, pack them in your drop bags. But yeah, the standard menu will be coming out in the email to all of the runners tomorrow. Yes, Coke and ginger ale at every aid station, copious amounts.
Indeed, yeah. Rocket fuel, Coke and ginger ale. Okay, how can my friends and family follow me online? So we will be updating your progress through the aid stations through opensplittime.org. We have a link to that on the website and through the various emails that we've sent. Brad's
I think I need to put it on the website, actually.
Okay, we will have a link on the website. If you check out the results page of the Never Summer website, you will see past year's results available on opensplittime.org. So you can follow the links there to find the link for this year's Never Summer. Just a note on the aid station splits. Our first 2 aid stations are in dead zones, so we can't get data out there from those 2 locations real time. So the first real-time location for aid station splits is going to be Montgomery Ridge. So that's the 3rd aid station along the course. And then all aid stations from Montgomery onwards should be reasonably close to real time. Those first 2 aid station splits will go up when we have our timing tablets back to headquarters and can upload the data. Do you have any other notes on that, Brad?
No. Assuming that Verizon cooperates, so we have 4 places we need to get data out of, and I currently have 3 functioning hotspots. I spent all of afternoon at Verizon today, and I'm hoping to get that 4th one active by race, but if not, Bachman splits might be delayed for their first couple hours until we get one moved down from an earlier aid station.
Okay, whilst we're on the subject of aid station splits and such like, do you want to talk a little bit about how the cutoffs are working this year?
Yep. So the cutoffs are coming in what we're calling wave groups. So the park insisted that runners have to start in waves of 10 every 5 minutes. So that means we have over 30 waves in the race. That is, to give everyone the same amount of time on course would be simply ridiculous to have 30 different splits or 30 different cutoffs at every aid station. In the same way, having one big cutoff for everyone wouldn't be fair. It would give the folks starting in the earlier waves nearly a 3-hour advantage over the folks in the later waves. So the fairest compromise we have is that each half-hour segment is a wave group, and each wave group has its own cutoff. Yes, that means within the group, some folks are going to get 5, 10, 15, 20-minute advantages over the others, but everyone in every wave is going to have the same amount of time, is going to have at least the amount of time ahead of cutoffs as you would in a normal mass start year. So there'll be 6 wave groups, and so there's 6 cutoffs at every aid station. And your bib number will tell you what wave group you're in. So wave group 1 are in the 100s, 2 in the 200s, and so on.
Okay, so we have a question from Zach Sanchez, Fort Collins. Zach is asking, tip or gear you wish you had or knew or glad that you had with you for your first ultra. Zach, we're super excited that Never Summer is going to be your first ultra. You've chosen a beast. Well done. I guess on gear, you know, this is, as you know, Zach, you've been out on the course and seen what it entails. So at the training run, or perhaps it wasn't the training run, I think it was the weekend before the training run, we were up on Montgomery Ridge. Beautiful day, but very windy up there when we were up there. And despite it being quite warm down in Gould, whilst we were running at 1,500 feet lower in elevation and in the trees and blocked from the wind, it was in fact pretty cold up there on Montgomery Ridge with the wind. So we are strongly recommending that all runners this year pack with them at all times a jacket, a hat, gloves, and the capacity to carry 40 ounces of fluids.
Yeah, I'd second that.
Yeah. Obviously, the reason we're doing this is for your own safety. It's just kind of a wise choice when out in the mountains to have that protective gear from the elements, but it's also to help out our volunteers so that they're less likely to have to deal with unnecessary extractions from the course. That wind jacket could save your race. You know, hail, wind and rain can come in above tree line, but if you've got a jacket on, you'll be fine. Keep moving, get back into the trees, and no harm, no foul. But if you get cold and hypothermic in the wind and the rain, then more than likely it's going to be tough for you to continue on.
Yep, I'm on.
So that's a little piece on the gear. I don't know, Brad, anything specific that you wish you'd had on your first ultra, or were glad that you had?
Actually, I'm on the exact same page. My first few ultras, I was all about saving the weight so that I could move faster and didn't carry sufficient gear. And I got dangerously hypothermic in 3 of my first 5 ultras because I did not want to carry enough layers. And yeah, I don't make that mistake anymore. It's worth it.
If anybody has tips on gear for Zach, why don't just throw them right in there in the comment box. Okay, our next question is from Carleen. This one is for you, Brad. When do crew get their temperature checked? Packet pickup or day of race?
Yep, so we'll have the temperature check station officially staffed while packet pickup is going on Friday, so from 1 to 7, as well as in the morning while the waves are setting out from basically 2 until 5:30. Other than that, the thermometers will always be available. Myself or someone will always be on call, so really any time from 1 p.m. on Friday onwards, they can stop by race headquarters to get their temperature checked.
Okay, let's see here. Okay, a question from James Kelly. What is the thickness of the red buff? Winter buff or thin? Question mark. So it's a summer buff, let's say. It's pretty thin. It's definitely not a winter buff. I was just out running with it this morning on the Puda Trail, and quite comfortable to run with.
You couldn't drop one by? I haven't even seen them yet.
Yeah, you'll get yours. We have 1,000 of them, Brad, so you can one for each day of the week. Okay, Peter Gobel, one of our volunteers, he is working the night shift at Bachman Aid. Should I plan to camp at the aid station, or should I plan to carpool back to the community center in the middle of the night and camp there?
Yep. Both are fine options. We have a couple spots remaining for volunteers at race headquarters. We also have 2 unclaimed campsites near Bachman. Whichever your preference is, just send me an email, Peter, and I will get you hooked up.
Okay, scrolling on down, Melissa McNamara. I second that question from Zach Sanchez. So I'm trying to think of, you know what I wish I had packed with me on my first ultra was a little more mental fortitude. It was actually a 2-loop course out in Fruta. It was the old Desert Rats 50 miler. Brad's familiar with that one. He's run it, or he's worked it and probably run it. But anyway, I got coming into the 25-mile turnaround for that race. I got a little bit off course and discombobulated, and annoyed with myself and angry, and you know, all of that stuff, all of those emotions that you deal with during the course of a long race. And I came into mile 25, saw my my family, and decided I was going to call it quits. Had I, you know, given myself a good pep talk before coming into the turnaround and told myself, you know, get in, get out, then I would have been on my way and not DNF'd my first ultra. So make sure you pack that mental fortitude. You know, Never Summer is a challenging course for sure, but 24 hours is a good amount of time for pretty much everybody to get the job done. So just focus on you know, moving forward, one foot in front of the other, and you will get it done. And we can't wait to see that happen.
Yep. And playing off of that, the aid stations where you see your crews are going to be the biggest points where you'll be tempted to drop. The time to refuel, if you're at a low point, is not at the aid station. It's before you get to the aid station. You want to come in there with plenty of energy so that you can get yourself set for the next segment. So if you're just struggling, hiking in, running slow, take the couple miles before you arrive at a crew access point to eat all the calories in your pack, drain your bladder, and just get yourself in as good of an energy position as you can coming in, so that you aren't tempted once you arrive in the aid station to feel low and start having those thoughts go through your head of maybe I won't make it. You will. Just keep those calories going.
Okay, James Kelly asks, are there any recent upticks in COVID cases in northern Colorado that could cause local authorities to pull the plug next week? So the race takes place in Jackson County. It's one of the least populated counties in Colorado. Not sure of the exact population numbers. I see
about 1,200.
Lewis is, huh?
About 12 total in the county.
So they recorded their first case about 10 days ago, I want to say. I see Lewis is on the call. He'll probably know better than I. And that recently doubled to 2 or 3 days ago. As far as Larimer County is concerned, which is probably the biggest county in northern Colorado, we have been seeing a slight uptick since July 4th, but we do not have any signals from our permitting agencies in Jackson County that they're concerned or are going to pull the plug on us last minute. So we do not expect that to be the case.
I see Ross is asking a question about camping at the start finish. So campsites there are basically open dispersed camping on the property. We have roughly 3 acres around the single building that's the community center. There's a set parking lot, and then as far as where you set up your tent, it's on the grounds. We generally suggest folks be south of the parking lot in the slightly forested area / meadow between the start finish and the river that marks the boundary. And yeah, you can put your tent right next to your vehicle. You can put it down by the river, which is about 200 yards away. It's all good. Just keep tents 15 feet from each other for safety and snoring, and otherwise whatever spot looks best to you. And I see James also asked about camping. Yes, so the Gould Community Center, the start, finish, and race headquarters, all three of those refer to the same thing. It's the place where the race starts and finishes, which is the building and lot of the Gould Community Center, and where all of our main facilities are based. And Nick, I see Melissa has a question. Oh, for those who just got admitted off the wait list, when will their names show in the wave start timesheet? I try to take care of those as close to real time as I can. So Melissa, if you've registered and you're not seeing your name there, that either means I missed it or you've registered in the last 18 minutes. Yeah, send me an email if you don't see it there. It should be in alphabetical order by last name, and I will get that fixed. My apologies. Nick, looks like you're up with your style. Oh, do I need to let you unmute again? Sorry. Okay.
There we go. All right. Okay, then we have a question from Anne. Brad, this one goes to you. What are the cutoffs exactly? At every aid station or just a select few for both 100K and 60K?
Oh, I don't see that question.
Thanks in advance.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
Oh, it's a question on cutoffs. All this information is on the course section of the website. Mm-hmm. So you can look there for detailed information about the course cutoffs. But the question is, are cutoffs at every aid station or just a select few for both 100K and 60K?
Yeah. There are cutoffs at 4 points on course. So the Diamond aid station, the Ruby Jewel aid station, Clearly Canadian the second time you visit, and the Bachman aid station. There are no cutoffs at Ditch. There are no cutoffs at Montgomery Pass. There are no cutoffs at any of the minor points like the Crew Rally Point or Kelly Lake or things like that. There's only 4 cutoffs. And if we say the finish cutoff is 5:30, the final finish cutoff, but if you make the cutoff at Bachman and you cross that finish line, even if you're a few minutes over, you're still an official finisher.
Okay. Word of thanks for Zach on the tips. Carlene asks, is the Never Summer hat Nick is wearing the hat we get this year? We pre-purchased one. We actually have 2 Never Summer hats. So I guess it depends on which one you pre-purchased. But if you really like this one and you pre-purchased the other one, then I'm sure we can figure out a trade. These ones, endurance hats from Boko Gear. And we're pretty excited about them. These will be available along with other Never Summer swag for purchase pre and post race. Post race, more than likely Sunday, potentially Saturday evening, depending on how things shake out. Okay, another one from James Kelly. Tip. Oh, here we go. Resist the DNF even when it looks hopeless.
And I completely agree with that. My first 100 was the Ozark Trail 100. I had an unknown injury flare up at mile 87, and there was no way I was going to DNF my first ever 100. I ended up finding 2 sticks by the side of the trail as, I'd call them trekking poles, but really they were canes, and I hiked about 35-minute miles for the last 13 miles to cross that finish line. I was not going to quit my first 100, and that completely came down to the mental game. It looked hopeless, but just come into the race with the mindset that that finish line is yours to get and stay focused on that goal. So yeah, James, excellent point.
Alex Priggy asks, any options for pacers to carpool to aid stations or possibility to shuttle a bike back to community center from an aid station? Yes. So in a typical year, we do encourage crew and pacers to carpool between aid stations. I guess for this year, that will be on a comfort level.
We have
Alex,
designated shuttles specifically for dropped runners with seat covers and PPE and other sanitizing gear, but we want to keep those specifically for dropped runners so that we have plenty of supplies and they don't get overused. But when it comes to carpooling with other pacers or crew, Nick?
I guess try and open that conversation with other crew and pacers as they're milling around. Alex, why don't you shoot us an email offline and we'll kind of give you an idea of options.
Yeah. There's generally always some crew hanging around the start finish. If you have a window and you hang out there and you're comfortable riding with someone else in these conditions, odds are you'll find someone heading where you want to go.
Mike asks, is camping still allowed at the race start? The answer to that question is yes. We have 5 acres, it's 5 acres total at the community center. I think Brad, I had to pop out, but Brad, you went over how the camping set up.
Yeah, in a general way.
The community center. So there's camping in the trees behind the community center. There's camping down by the river. Plenty of space to spread out.
Let's see.
Arlene, with wave starts, do we stay in the car until the wave before us goes, or will there be separate wave meetup points? Trying to get an idea of what it will be like.
So we know 5 minutes is not a lot of time to gather. When we had the initial draft of the plan with waves of 50 every 30 minutes, then yes, the hope was that folks would wait in their car until the wave before them starts. We know that's not practical with a 5-minute window. So we're asking you to wait until a half hour before your start to gather in the general start area. It's going to be dark. It's not going to be easy to really tell. So just as a general rule, wait at your campsite, wait in your car until a half hour before your start time.
Okay, Emily, can you have 2 people support crew at the aid stations? And the answer there is yeah. So we are limiting to 2 crew support folks per runner. Each crew support member will be required to check in, sign the waiver, and then we'll have credentials that we'll issue, which is basically going to be an old race bib, recognizable by our wonderful volunteers. Oh, we're going blue sky. Okay.
For some of them, yeah.
Huh?
For some of them. Some might get horse tooth. We'll see.
Horse tooth 2020, that never happened. Lewis, Brad is right, 1,200-ish. So this is in response to the population of Jackson County. Next question, Lewis, is how many people in Walden? And then how many people in Gould? And yes, very few cases, Lewis confirms. Okay, Finley Wood. Are there any open campsites available? So at this point, we are, Finley, if you want to shoot us an email, we have a waiting list for campsites. So if one becomes available, we'll put people on it. Otherwise, there is dispersed camping available in Forest Service property, Forest Service land south of Gould, about 4 or 5 miles from the race start, so pretty convenient, and there is tons of space and pull-ups in the forest there. Carlene says, it is a sweet looking hat. Yes, it is, Carlene. I've been enjoying running it. It's sweet looking and also a great running hat. Do we have to reserve a camping spot, Melissa asks. So yeah, so there was the opportunity to reserve with your registration, and so same response from earlier. If you don't have one reserved, shoot us an email. We'll put you on a waiting list. If nothing materializes, then try Forest Service property dispersed camping, 4 or 5 miles from the race start. Do you remember the county road numbers?
So the main one is County Road 21, and then
21.
there's 21H and 792, I think, that branch off of it. On the accommodations page on our website, we have a link to the local National Forest motor vehicle use map, which is the clearest picture of where dispersed camping is allowed.
Okay, John, WY7VAF, Wyoming asks, what is the weather like up there now? So Brad and I are both in Fort Collins, so we're an hour and a half drive time from Gould. I haven't
You were just up there this weekend, though.
Huh?
You were just up there this weekend. What were those days
I was
like?
up there this weekend. The weather was hot Saturday, cooler Sunday. Fairly standard weather this past weekend. So high 70s, low 80s through the heat of the day. We had a couple of drops of rain come through on Sunday, but really no significant weather to speak of. But you know, on weather, you can expect, you know, if it gets really hot, mid 80s, I would say maybe even pushing high 80s, but that would be unlikely. But of course, at that elevation, it feels a whole lot hotter. So one tip on heat is to make sure that you're hydrating well out on the course. And then, of course, you know, on the other end, it can get down, you know, we get a squall come through, get some weather up on the ridge, then, you know, it can be 40s, feel like 20s type of deal. And nighttime weather, it can and probably will drop down into the 30s.
And if it rains
so come
on top
prepared
of that,
for all.
Yep. I was just unmuting Lewis here to see if he has anything else to offer. Lewis used to be a ranger at State Forest State Park, and he now works for, was it Colorado Parks and Wildlife? Lewis, if you want to chime in at all, you've got more experience.
The weather up here the last couple of days, we just finally started getting our kind of afternoon storms that are rolling through. We haven't really seen those all summer, so usually once we start getting them, we expect them to turn, you know, kind of keep going all summer and then turn into snow in September or whatever. But what you guys said is past race experience, right? We've seen hail up there, Montgomery Pass. I think every year we get hail on. But yeah, you guys are spot on for that.
Cool. Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, Todd asks, for runners who have requested to drop back in wave start times, when will that approval occur?
So I've been responding to those requests within 24 hours of when they come in. I know there were a few folks who sent requests before we even had the wave times posted, and I can't say for sure if all those have been followed up with. It's a massive inbox. But yeah, if you send a request and you have not heard back or seen a change, please email me again. I apologize. Yeah, trying to hop on those right away.
Okay. And from Lewis, this is from an earlier question discussion, and the answer to the question, 400 to 600 in Walden, which is the seat of Jackson County, largest town in Jackson County. And then Gould, less than 10 full-time residents. So the race starts and finishes in Gould. So as you can imagine, not a huge metropolis. 10 full-time residents, more in the summer. Zach asks, what time should I arrive Friday to set up camping and checking in? Zach will be on site from noon. I believe we're starting pack and pickup at 1. But yeah, you can get ready in terms of camping from 11 noon onwards.
Yeah, as long as we're there and the gates are open, you're welcome to start setting up for sure by 1 o'clock, probably earlier.
Yeah. And Zach, just a note for locals like yourself. If you want to pick up your gear early, then we will be having packet pickup at Altitude Running Tuesday and Wednesday. What are the times? Oh, that's any time, right? Pop into Altitude.
Yep. It's an unmanned pickup. There'll just be everyone's packets. Everyone who has signed the waiver will have their packets at Altitude Running and can drop by anytime during their open hours.
Okay. Mike asks, is there pizza in the drop shuttles? Answer to that is unfortunately not. So no reward for dropping in terms of calories and pizza.
We have a full burger bar at the finish, though. My wife is heading that up,
right.
And you can look forward to deluxe burgers, all you can eat once you finish.
And of course, go ahead, Brad.
I was just, and same for volunteers. If you're stationed at the start finish or once your aid station shift ends, come on by, get your burger, get your drink. Yes, beer. New Belgium is a sponsor of the race, and we will have a wide selection of some of their favorites.
Indeed. Yeah, I'll be picking those up Tuesday. So as always, a big thank you to New Belgium for, Zach asks beer question mark. Yes. So we'll have a selection of 4 New Belgium beers to choose from at the finish, but they will not be in any SAG wagons or drop vehicles. Guillermo asks, can I bring a pop-up trailer? I guess it depends on the definition of a pop-up trailer. You know, if it's within the footprint of your vehicle, truck, then that's fine.
So if it's a truck bed or a rooftop one, that's fine. If it's a pull behind, no, we don't have the parking for to allow that as an open request.
Alex Priggy, lightly flavored fizzy water, always. A slight hint of watermelon. Okay, Rosalie asks, in terms of finish times, were the results from the last 2 years typical? I would say yes. So, you know, those are good examples to work from in terms of figuring out how your pacing might look through the aid stations.
Yeah, I would say that the drop rate last year was a bit higher than usual. We had probably the worst weather in the race's 5-year history, but in terms of the spread and range of finishing times, yeah, typical. Uh-oh, everyone looks frozen. Is it me or is it y'all?